Hi, my name is Denise. I am 51 years old, and today is my 10-year anniversary of choosing recovery from an eating disorder. 10 years! 10 years! Woohoo! 10 years. I can't believe I can say that, but I can. I am super proud of myself, and I am making this so that all of you out there who are wondering and feeling like recovery is impossible and what does it look like? Is there ever anyone who recovers? My answer is yes. It is possible. There are people. I am one of them. So I'm going to start with my history and go from there. My eating disorder is rooted in body image, body dysmorphia. And that for me started at a very young age from my mother, unintentionally from my mother, but she would write things in my baby book and say things about how dissatisfied she was with my physical appearance. And that just let you know, I would look around in magazines and see I didn't look like those girls. I studied dance. I started when I was 4. I didn't look like a lot of those girls. And I would hear comments about the beauty of certain people and they looked nothing like me. So I just took that on. Growing up, no one was concerned about my weight or if I had an eating disorder or not. And that's because it didn't present that way. I ate 3 meals. In fact, I would maybe be what some people would consider overeating. And for me, I was an emotional eater. I also have ADHD, and that completely tied in with my compulsion toward food as comfort and my compulsion toward food as for like leveling me out, with especially sugar. I was super drawn to sugar, and what I now know is that is part of how my ADHD unmedicated presents itself, because it would kind of even me out. Do you know what I mean? So I was restricting, but I never realized I was restricting ever. And no one around me did either, because like I would eat like an apple, a salad, and then an entire tin of mozzarella cheese fries, or you know what I mean? And it didn't go on anyone's radar, including mine, that is restricting and that is an eating disorder. I had a bunch of disordered behaviors, but it didn't go full blast forward into an eating disorder until I was 18, 19. I was dating someone and I lost my virginity to him. He was my boyfriend, and he raped me multiple times and physically abused me. And so after that incident, I also never considered it rape because he was my boyfriend. After that, it went full blast and I put on a lot of weight, and that was an subconscious defense mechanism of stay away from me, don't approach me. And it stayed that way for many years. I would just battle back and forth with not understanding a healthy relationship with food, not understanding what non-disordered folks do versus disordered folks, all of that. So that went from 19 for another 19 years. I was 38 when I realized, wait a second, this is an eating disorder, because I recognized at that time I was trying to intuitively eat, and I was eating healthy meals, but I could only eat like half. So I would make a veggie burger and I realized, well, I'm like super full and I feel super uncomfortable and I've only eaten half of this. So I would load it with like walnuts and sprouts. I would try to get as much of every food group in there at once, because I didn't understand that when you restrict, your stomach shrinks. And when your stomach is shrinking, you feel fuller faster. You think you're full and you're not. You are, I didn't recognize that. And there was one night where it was like 9 p.m. and I was hungry, but I was battling myself about eating. It's too late. You already ate enough today. All of these self-deprecating thoughts. And I was in my kitchen making a veggie burger, sitting on the floor alone. The kids are in bed. My ex-husband traveled a lot. I don't think he was even there. Crying. I was crying because I was hungry and I felt like I was binging. And I recognized, wait a second. Being out of control is a choice. It's a choice you make. And if you took the food out of my hand and put alcohol in it, I would be a raging alcoholic. So Denise, you have a problem. This is a problem. So then I went to Google and I did an online intake survey about where they ask questions and about if you have an eating disorder or not. And it came out, yes, it's very likely that you do, contact us for help and whatever. So I started on that journey. Because of my life, the way it was, I had young kids. I could not do residential. I also was not at that severe of a level of care, but I was my physical lowest weight that I have ever been. This was in like 2009. I couldn't do the day program either because of my lifestyle. I homeschooled our kids, so it wasn't a possibility. And again, my care level was not quite there. So what I did was intensive outpatient program, IOP, which was 3 or 4 nights a week, and I had to go in and like eat a meal there with them and like be in therapy and stuff. And they had told me that group therapy was what was going to happen, and I was totally against it. I was like, fuck you, no way, because I didn't tell people when I needed help, because at some point early in my life, me telling people I needed help didn't matter, and it kept not mattering consistently all the way through. So I just eventually stopped asking, stopped talking about me. I am very empathic, and people were always drawn to me, and I was always very helpful for other people. Okay. So I did the intensive outpatient program, and it was challenging. Group therapy is literally what saved me, was being in a room full of other people going through the same thing. I was shocked, but it is so valuable. It was more valuable than the therapists itself and then the facility I was at. I was like a therapist. I was asking the therapist, like, hey, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? During group sessions and stuff like that. I graduated out of it, and you don't come out of therapy, you don't come out of treatment fixed. It's not how it works. It does not work that way. I kind of was in recovery, but it was like a slippery slope for a long time, for another 4 years, about 3 or 4 years, until I ended up going back to treatment again. And so the first time I went, it was for the physicality. I was very underweight, all of that stuff. And the second time, it was the control. It was the mental piece. I realized the first time I was in treatment that the eating disorder has nothing to do with food. It's a coping mechanism. This is something I figured out. This is not what the therapists were telling me or anything like that. The second time I went in, there was a lot of stuff going on in my life that I had zero control over. I have nieces who have a hideous genetic disorder that no one prior to them in our family or my sister's ex-husband-in-law's family had, and it's fatal and it's awful, and there was a lot of other things. I was in another relationship that was terrible and just a lot of things going on. So I put myself into treatment the second time. I had been working with a private therapist, and I had said to her, I think I need a higher level of care. And she was like, I agree with you. So I went in and I paid for it out of pocket. It was bananas how much money that is, but worth it. Because what I said to myself was, Denise, do you want to die or like give it a try? Like, is the money, you know what I mean? It's worth spending it. And I went in very honestly the second time saying, I don't know if I'm going to choose recovery or not. I'm 50-50 right down the line. I really don't know. The one thing I committed to was being brutally honest, and I already really am very honest. With anybody who asked me anything, I would answer them honestly. And so that was interesting for the people around me. But the second time in there, I was in there for, I want to say it was somewhere toward the second or third week. I was in the day program. So I would go every day and have to eat 3 meals there and then leave and come home. I had, I have 3 kids. They were homeschooled. They didn't know. It was not an obvious thing looking at me that I had an eating disorder any of the times. You know what I mean? I had a lot of help from friends, a lot of help. Couldn't have done it without them. And eventually, when I graduated from the day program and went to the IOP program, I did tell the kids, because they asked me, why don't you ever eat with us? And I told them, and they were shocked. They were shocked. It was interesting. But, okay, so about the third week when I was in there, I was stuck. And you have a personal therapist along with group therapy and a nutritionist and a psychiatrist while you're in treatment. And my personal therapist was like, maybe you should not come. You're spending money on this and maybe you shouldn't come. And I went home and I really thought about it a lot. And I was like, why can't I get over this? Like, why can't I get over this? And I made a list and I wrote the pros of what my eating disorder gave me and the cons. And that list was so eye-opening. There's no way I could intellectually, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not agree, but like, I couldn't ignore that. It made no logical sense for me to keep going on the track of the eating disorder, because that would get me to death. I was just slowly killing myself. And so I was like, no, that's it. I choose recovery. I choose a full, rich life. And from that second on, that is where I have been. And I have not faltered from it. Not one time. Not one time. Yes. Okay. It has been challenging for a lot of different reasons. Treatment was interesting, and here is what I have to say about going to a center or a place outside of you. If you need that level of care and you're unable to do it successfully on your own, absolutely go. Will they cure you? No. Do they tell you all of the information you need so that when you leave, you're fully set up to succeed on your own? No, they don't. They are for profit, okay? But is it still valuable to go? Yes, it is. Go in thinking you have to take control of your recovery, right? So that's what I did. I asked different questions. I realized that like emotional eating is something that non-disordered people do. That just because you're emotionally eating doesn't mean you're using a symptom or it's not necessarily disordered. The difference is that people who are non-disordered, who emotionally eat, will stop. They'll stop. They have a stopping point, and people who are disordered don't. It was relearning, using all of the tools, gathering the tools and using them. So as far as physicality and symptom use, that stopped 10 years ago. It's not like it just stopped. I had to work on it and keep choosing the path to go up, to go toward recovery. And the longer you do that, you are rewiring. It takes your brain 3 years or so to catch up once you choose recovery and you stop using symptoms. And I knew that ahead of time. So I put that in there, like, this is an uphill battle. Here you go, but you can do it. Now the body image piece and the dysmorphia, it was more difficult. And I still have that. I still have those. My dysmorphia has improved, tremendously. It's tremendously. I don't view myself through a dysmorphic lens so much anymore. I'd say there's still maybe like somewhere between 2 to 7%, and that fluctuates where that lens comes on. But I know it's false. You understand? But it's still there. There's still urges that come in. I just don't respond to them where I used to react to them. You feel me? And that came from choosing me. Me choosing me is what did it. Me choosing me on my terms, a full, rich life. That was the only thing that was going to work for me. And it has. Yay. Okay, so I don't remember if I mentioned that I was an exercise bulimic, which means that I would exercise to combat gaining weight, or, you know what I mean? I could never, until now in my life, until 2019, anytime I exercised before 2019, I would relapse. And once I was done treatment for the second time, I didn't work out as much, and I slowly built it back up. But when I would start getting fit, and to what my definition of fit is, it would freak me out so bad, and I was terrified I was going to relapse, that I would stop. So I did no working out for many, many, many years, and then slowly bringing it back in. In 2019, I got diagnosed with diastasis recti, which is a separated abdominal wall, which happened to me from the birth of my second kid. I have 3 kids. It turns out that it was inches wide, and no one knew that. And so the way to fix that is a tummy tuck, basically, or physical therapy. So I couldn't afford the tummy tuck. I didn't want to have that happen. It's brutal surgery. So I just focused on physical therapy. That was like a long challenge with insurance and all this stuff. At the same time, I was diagnosed with fecal incontinence. I also had SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which I still have. Actually, I have EMO, which is intestinal methanogen overgrowth, which falls under the umbrella of SIBO, but I didn't know it. I had a lot of gut issues and a lot of stuff going on. So I was very stressed out. I went to physical therapy. I did, I think, 3 months of it, and then I continued on my own. And I slowly, when you start working your body out and we're building my core and they're telling me you need a strong core. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like the one body part that gave me the most stress in my life was my abdomen. And that's the thing like I need to focus on. Like, are you serious? How am I going to do this? Right. I had thrown out all my scales. I had 2 scales. I had thrown out tape measure. I threw out all my things back in my treatment days, right? So I didn't have any of that stuff. When you start working out for your core, then you need to work out your back. And then you need to do your chest, and you need to do your quads, and you need to do your whole body. So I slowly I had to work out to maintain my health. I had to put in strength training. I was doing 3 days. I ended up in physical therapy again for something else. And my physical therapist said, you need another day for upper body. And I was like, oh my God, it was so difficult. I had to track my macros. I still do. I had to figure out calories. And I'm vegetarian, and I had to get all this in. And it has been so difficult and so challenging. I got to the point where I hired a nutritionist on my own. I went to one that was recommended from my doctors that worked with eating disorders. That's their specialty. And they literally fired me. Like I wrote to them. I told them what was going on, that I had a lot of health issues, that I was a recovering anorexic. I had however many years at the time in recovery, that I need to work out, and I wanted to make sure I wanted to know scientifically what are the calories I need to fuel my body so I'm not unintentionally relapsing. What are the macro breakdowns? What do I need? Can you help me, and can you give me a meal plan that fits in with the macros? Because that was really challenging for me. And then they told me, you seem really numbers based and blah, 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 blah. They took my money first, and then they told me that. And I was like, you took my money and you're telling me you can't help me. And I was like, this is bullshit. You trust us eating disordered people enough to eat every day on our own, but you don't trust me with numbers? Like, what the fuck? Go fuck yourself. And they were like, good luck finding a nutritionist who's going to work with you. I did find a nutritionist who worked with me, and she was very helpful. In fact, I had to get a scale, get a tape measure, get calipers, and get I forget what it's called. It's this little electronic thing that measures your body fat. I had to bring all of those things back into my life and not let myself fall backward into relapse. And I didn't fall back into relapse. This has not been easy. Okay. This has been really fucking challenging, and I'm still there. It's like, I'm still there. So eventually, I ended up needing the surgery to close my abdominal wall because I then got an umbilical hernia. And when they went in, no, I had a 6-pack before I went in, because I was like, I'm not getting the surgery. I did everything I could to make my core strong. And even the plastic surgeon, when I went in to see him, he like examined me and he ran his fingers down my 6-pack. And he's like, you have a 6-pack. And he was like, who told you I have a diastasis? And I had to show him photographs of what I looked like before, which was I looked pregnant. I looked like 3 months pregnant because my intestines were all pushed out. And I thought I was overweight, out of shape. It was hideous for me. And here, it wasn't dysmorphia. It was a real thing. But people around me are, telling me like, it's in your head, blah, blah, blah. Not that it's in my head. They could see what that was, but like what it was. You feel me? So when they went in to close me up, after I came to, after it was over, they said, you were inches wide. You never could have closed it on your own. And I said to him, did you miss that because of all the work I did? And he said, yes. So that surgery was October 2020, and I've had a zillion health issues since then, partially because of the surgery. I have emo, my entire pelvic floor, every organ down there has prolapsed and is continuing to prolapse because my intestinal motility is like none. So it's not obstructed because I have bowel movements every day, but it's just, there's a load. It's even right now, I'm full of stool and it never goes away. And because that's been every day since October 14th, 2020, okay? All of that weight pushing down on my organs. The doctors missed the fecal loading. It has been a whole lot of gaslighting. I have videos on my channel about all of that. For anyone who wants to go look at that, you can. I am still presently dealing with all of that. Okay, so in the course of trying to figure out what was going on with my diastases, and then I had abdominal distension every day since then, and figuring out what that was, I was tested twice for gastroparesis a year apart. The first time it came back negative. The second time it came back positive because the second time they tested not just for solid emptying, but liquids. And I have liquid emptying gastroparesis. So for any of you out there who think you might have gastroparesis or you're not sure, make sure if you get a test that they're testing you for liquid and solid. Now, apparently, there's like no information on liquid emptying gastroparesis because it's new and nobody knows what to do with it. So that's the thing. I also, within the last 2 years, going on 2 years, got diagnosed with BPD, borderline personality disorder, which makes a lot of sense because I've had a lot of traumas in my life from early age, and also with autism. And I'm mentioning that because I have recognized that there's a direct link between my autism and my dysmorphia. So for my life, I would, and when I went into treatment both times, I would say this, I would wake up in the middle of the night because I could feel my skin spreading. I could feel myself getting bigger. And they told me it was in my head, and I thought it was in my head. And what I realized since then is that it is not in my head. I can feel it. I am extremely in tune with my inner body, very, very, very much so. And this is how I can explain it. This is what made the switch for me. Do you know how autistic people, it's very common that like tags on clothing or seams on socks and stuff, autistic people you can't have them. It bothers you immediately. It throws everything off. That is what I have from the inside. When my body is not in its natural organic state, when something external is causing it, like a diastasis, or there's something wrong with my sigmoid colon, which has been distended every day since October 14th, 2020. I feel it. I can feel it, and it fucks my whole flow up. It's really hard to be in alignment. Once I recognized that that's what that was from, it made the dysmorphic thoughts much easier to deal with, because that's what it is. It's just something off. It doesn't mean it's bad necessarily. It doesn't mean, it's been really extremely challenging because my abdomen has been distended every day since October 14th, 2020. And that has been a mind fuck to deal with because my tapes in my head put that distension in a category of unfit, unworthy, and it's been challenging to step out of that, to accept, like, I can't fit in my clothes. I can't wear things. I'm not comfortable. My body has been hijacked. And it's been hard. It's been really hard to deal with it. But where I am now, because it has been so long, too, since the distension and all of that, and I'm getting more answers that I have had to fight for all the way through, and still am. Because we still don't have answers all the way about why things are the way they are. We're still figuring it out. I lost my train of thought. Hold on. Where I am now is a constant striving for self-acceptance. I sometimes have to, like, if I see, I try to put on my jeans and I just don't, like, proportion wise for my eyes, and that's my autism in there too, it's not flowing. Instead of freaking out and saying a bunch of mean things to myself, I just said, this is what it is. This is where I am. This is what it is. Put something else on. I'm just in a state of trying to radically accept what is. And part of that is self-care for myself, having enough sleep, making sure that I'm enjoying the foods I'm putting in my body. I have emo, I have gastroparesis, so I'm severely restricted, and I'm vegetarian because meat repulses me and always has since I was a kid, my whole life. I even ate meat again for a period because I was so like, I am not going to die. I have to eat something. You know what I mean? I'm not relapsing. And so I ate meat again until I just couldn't deal with it. It's so gross. It just feels so wrong and disgusting in my mouth. I don't care if anyone else eats meat. Just for me, not my thing. But that's what I'm saying, is that I am doing everything I can to take the best care of myself as possible. It's very difficult. I'm also 51 and I'm aging. And so that's part of it too. Just in general, you know what I mean? Accepting the changes in your body. And I try really hard to do that. I don't wear makeup. I don't dye my hair. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't have anything against that either. And there have been times in my life where I did all that stuff, but I just try to accept me the way that I am presenting the best I can. If I'm doing my best, then that's all I can do. That's all I can do. And to halt the thoughts, the false beliefs that come in, and replace them with facts and with love. It's not easy. I'm not sitting here telling you it's easy. It isn't. Is it worth it? Yes. Yes, it is. Why? Because I'm worth it. Because you're worth it. Because I'm worth having a full, rich life. And so are you. I'm worth not having my entire existence be dependent upon the value other people place on what I look like physically. Or, you know what I mean? No, that's not why I'm alive. I'm alive to experience life to the fullest, to experience it. And that's what I'm doing. Yay, woohoo, yay. Okay, so hold on. I want to be very clear that my choices about makeup and hair dyeing and like plastic cosmetic procedures to like enhance they're only for myself. Everyone should do whatever makes them feel good. Do whatever makes you feel good. Just like that. I'm not judging you because you're doing anything to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I would hope you're not judging me, but whatever. I don't even care if you are. You feel me? But I just want to be really clear on that I'm not promoting one kind of a lifestyle over another. What I am promoting, if anything, is choosing you. And you're the expert on you. I'm not an expert on eating disorders. I'm an expert on my own eating disorder. I am knowledgeable, very much so, about eating disorders, but I'm not an expert on anyone or anything else other than myself. So today is my 10-year anniversary, and I always do something to celebrate it. And like 1 year I went out and bought a whole bunch of super hot underwear. I try to have it be connected and tied into my physical self or food. For most of the other years, we've celebrated, me and my friends or me and my family, with some kind of food thing, like with my favorite desserts and stuff like that. And right now, because of all my health food restrictions, because I literally can't digest a bunch of stuff, like I have a gluten intolerance now and I have a dairy intolerance now. It doesn't kill me if I eat any of those things. But today I'm allowing myself to go eat whatever I want for pleasure. Today is all about pleasure, not in excess, but just without any kind of guilt or anything like that, I'm not sure what else I'm going to do, but I'm not even sure where I'm going to go. I feel like ice cream is going to be involved. I don't really know. I'm very super proud of myself. I am happy that I'm here still and that I can be here for you and tell you that there is hope. There is hope. And you are worth everything good. And you are worthy exactly how you are and who you are. And you are enough exactly how you are and who you are. And to keep fighting the good fight, because you are worth it and you deserve it. It is your birthright. Okay, if you guys have questions, you can ask them in the comments and I'll answer them in another video. I don't want to say good luck, good life to you. Thanks for watching. Ciao, ciao.